Back in 2020 during the pandemic, I wanted to pick up some Game Boys so I could try and make some money on the side by refurbishing them and selling them. So I was looking on some Japan auction sites and I found this lot that had these two Game Boy colors and a Nintendo DSi. The lot was listed as junk, nothing was tested, so I assumed it was all broken and I was gonna have to like do some refurbishments. But surprisingly, once I tested it, everything here works. These two Game Boys I had planned on refurbishing, but both of these work perfectly fine. Chuck some batteries in this one. Oh, they also sent me a copy of Pokemon Gold, Japanese copy, which is really cool, but it's kind of useless because there's no language select, so it's all Japanese. But if we put this in the Game Boy and zoom in so you can see, works perfectly fine. It's obviously going to be a bit hard to see, but yeah, both these Game Boys work perfectly fine. But the other thing I received was this DSi XL. Now, this is a Japanese DSi XL. So actually, if we flip it over, you can see DSi LL. That's what it's called over there for some reason. But yeah, this is the Japanese model, so it's all in Japanese. There's no option to change it to English, unfortunately. So today we're going to have to attempt to modify this and get it into English. And we'll see what else we can do with it as well. Boots up just fine. No idea what any of this says. I did factory reset this. It had someone else's name on it, and that was kind of a struggle. I had to work out where the reset was. But it's all reset. I haven't done anything with it. I've never modified a DS before, so this will be my first time. So hopefully it goes well and we don't brick the console. To modify the DS, we're going to need an SD card. They recommend using a 32GB SD card. Anything higher, you've got to do some extra steps to get it to work. So I just found this 32GB card laying around and we're just going to use that. For the actual steps, we're going to be following the DSi guide on dsi.cfw.guide, which is a custom firmware guide for modding the DSi. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is set up the SD card, make sure it's formatted correctly. First section of the guide covers this. Alright, I've got the SD card inserted. I'm just going to format it real quick. So you want FAT32, 32 kilobytes. I'm just going to give it a name of DSi. Quick format's fine. Now that we've formatted the card, I'm just going to put it into the DSi. Alright, now we need to launch the camera app and go through the tutorial. If the tutorial hasn't been completed, this won't work. I don't know what this says, I'm just tapping OK. There's a few different exploits you can use to mod the DS. We're going to use the top one here, which is using ulaunch via memory pit. This is the most common way to do it. Alright, so there's two different versions of the memory pit exploit, and the one you download depends on if yours has this Facebook icon or not. So mine does, so I'll be downloading the first version. Alright, so I just put the SD card back into the computer, and now if we look onto it, we should have a folder called private, DS, app, and then this folder here. We want to go into this, and we want to rename pit.bin to tip.bin, and we place our downloaded pit.bin inside that folder. We also need Twilight menu and dump tool. That's in the prep work section. And then here we just copy over the _nds folder straight into the SD card, and also the boot.nds file. And we also want the dump tools.nds file on the SD card as well. Alright, let's put this SD card back into the DS. Alright, so next we're supposed to go into the camera app and open the album, I believe. Alright, here we can select our language. So obviously we want to select English and proceed. Just a quick note, I didn't select English for the game or DS titles here, but I will fix that later on. Select your region. I'm going to select Australia. I'm not sure, I think this will allow me to still play Australian DS carts in here, but I don't know for sure. Alright, so we need to launch the dump tool next, which is this one here. Alright, it says press A to start NAND dump. Apparently this takes a while, so we'll come back when it's done. Alright, so that step's done. Alright, the next step is to install unlaunch, but I realized what I did wrong with the language, so I'm just going to fix that real quick. First I gotta reset the console. Then we go into the SD card, and if we hold the select button while it's loading, we should get back into the settings options. Right, if we hit the right bumper to go across, we have game language and title language. I'm just going to change these to English. There we go, now the console's in English again. Right, so now we're going to install Unlaunch, so we're going to turn the console off again and take the SD card out. Right, so here we just download the latest version of Unlaunch. Now we just drag unlaunch.dsi and put that straight onto the SD card. We also want to make a backup of the dumped folder from earlier, so just put that somewhere on your hard drive. And put the SD card back in the console. Alright, now we can install Unlaunch. We're going to scroll down to install now. Alright, that worked successfully, so now we just gotta restart the console and hopefully it boots just fine. Alright, it seems to have booted into the Unlaunch menu. Now we just need to change it so it boots into Twilight by default. Alright, so what we want to do is go down to Options, and we want to change No Button. Scroll all the way down to Twilight menu, and then Save. Now when we reboot, it should boot into the Twilight menu. Alright, there we go. Now we boot into the Twilight menu. Now we can go ahead and clean up the SD card and get rid of what we don't need and install some apps. Alright, so it's the next day and I've put a bunch of stuff on this DS now. I got a whole heap of DS ROMs, and I've also got some SNES ROMs, and I've also got something else to show as well. So for starters, I've changed the theme to the Homebrew launcher. By default, it's like this version of the DSi theme. I think this one looks cooler, so I just changed to this. I've got Pokemon in its own folder, and then the rest of the ROMs. And these folders have a limit of 40 per folder, so once you get to the end, you have to like go across to the next folder. It's kind of annoying, but it's just a limitation, I guess. Forgot to plug in my light. There we go, hopefully we can see a bit better now. Let's just try Mario Kart DS to start off with. Alright, we're in. It's been a while, so I'm probably going to be terrible. Oh no, I can't remember how to boost. Oh god, come on. There we go, straight into the grass. I can't get the boosting right. Oh, third place, I'll take that. Alright, so that was Mario Kart. Now we'll look at some Super Nintendo games. Let's try Super Mario All-Stars. We'll go Super Mario Bros. 3. Alright, I'm gonna be terrible at this as well, I can already tell. Oop. Oh! Ah, goddamn. Oh, nice. So yeah, as we can see, both DS and SNES games work fine, but what I want to show now is a port of Doom to the DS. Alright. So I changed the controls slightly, so you use the D-pad for forwards and back and strafe, and then the bumpers just to turn, and it's a bit weird to get used to, but I guess it kind of works alright. Now the port runs surprisingly well, but there's no music, I've noticed. Unless it's an option. There's a music slider, but there's no music. Yeah, this port runs surprisingly well. Oh, there we go. Not exactly speedrun times. But anyway, that's all I'm going to show in this video. We have a working Japanese Nintendo DSi in English. I might do some more videos like this in the future. I've got a Vita I'd like to mod and a PSP, so I can do videos on those. If that's something you're interested in, subscribe and I'll see what I can come up with. But anyway, that's it for this video. I'll have links for all the files you need to download in the description, and that's all.